Alphas, my beautiful audience, welcome, welcome back. The shadows missed your breath, the cold steel of survival missed your footsteps, and the silence ached without the echo of your war cry. You've been gone, not in distance, but in depths, buried beneath the expectations, under the scalpel of their judgment, under the sickening scrutiny of those who never truly saw you. For 1,825 days, they placed you under a glass dome, dissected every blink, every tremble, every fracture in your smile, hoping to find the rot they assumed must live inside you. And yet they found nothing but a clean soul. Do you understand what that means? That is not a compliment. That's not a reward. That is a curse, an indictment, a declaration of war. You see, in this world, they expect you to break. They need it. It comforts them. It proves their lies are still valid, that suffering leaves everyone twisted. But when you emerge clean, when you remain unbroken, they don't see purity. They see defiance. They see rebellion. They see the monster they could not cage. They tried, didn't they? With their empty smiles and backhanded praise. With their systems, their labels, their rigid paths and small boxes that smelled of dust and failure. They offered you false peace, watered down purpose, lifeless hope. And when you didn't take it, when you refused to sip from their poison well, they branded you a threat. For 5 years, they watched you, marked you, waited for the slip that never came. They took notes on your silence, your grace, your restraint. But what they didn't understand, what they still cannot comprehend, is that beneath all of that, beneath the stillness, a storm was blooming. This was never about being seen. This was about enduring without applause, rising without recognition, mastering your demons in the dark while they mistook your silence for submission. They saw still waters, but they never imagined the oceans you carry in your chest. Every tick of their clock was a countdown to your awakening. And now the time has passed. You are here, clean but dangerous, untainted but unforgiving. You are the soul they could not corrupt, and that makes you their worst nightmare. They don't fear the broken ones. No, those are easy to manage, easy to pity, easy to mold. They fear the whole ones, the ones who walked through hell, shook hands with madness, bled with a grin, and came back with their soul intact. That's you. You've walked the razor's edge every day for 5 years. You played the long game. You outlasted the tests, the betrayals, the loneliness. You stood so still you became invisible, but never inactive. Every breath was resistance. Every quiet choice, every hidden effort, every day you didn't give in. They were daggers planted gently into their lies. They think you're safe because you're clean. They think you're harmless because you survived. But they forget. Purity forged in chaos is not innocence. It is precision. It is intention. It is fire that refuses to burn out, a blade that refuses to dull. You didn't stay clean because you were weak. You stayed clean because you were smarter than them, colder than them, stronger than they'll ever admit. You wore your pain like armor, swallowed your rage like wine, and waited. And now it's time to stop waiting. Look at yourself. Go ahead. See what I see. A creature made not of bone and blood, but of resilience and fury. Your silence was your scream, your composure your uprising. You've done more in the dark than they'll ever accomplish in their spotlight, because power doesn't need to announce itself. Power doesn't beg to be understood. It simply is. And you, Alpha, you are. So what now? Now that the microscope is gone and they couldn't find what they wanted. Now that their files are empty, their reports inconclusive, their doubts confirmed. Now that the clean soul stands, not humble, but coiled and ready. Now you rise, not to prove yourself, not to validate their disbelief, but to become what they feared all along, the one who didn't break, the one who didn't bend, the one who didn't become like them. You've seen behind the curtain. You know how fragile their world is. You know how easily their systems crumble when confronted with truth. You don't need revenge. You don't need recognition. What you need is a stage. And the moment you step on it, they'll remember why they tried so hard to keep you small. Not because you were weak, but because your existence is a mirror they cannot face. You reflect back everything they aren't: integrity, endurance, fire. So let them watch again. Let them gather around like they did before. Only now, the microscope is reversed. Now, it is you who sees them clearly. You see the cracks in their certainty, the cowardice behind their control, the desperation in their smiles. You're no longer the subject. You are the judge, the blade, the storm. You spent 1,825 days being dissected. Now, it's your turn to cut. You won't need to raise your voice. You won't need to bare your teeth. Your existence is the roar. Your survival is the scream. Your soul, clean, bright, untouchable, is the rebellion. And they'll learn, one by one, that trying to tame something so pure was the greatest mistake they ever made, because what they wanted was a puppet. What they got was prophecy. Alpha. The lights are off. The games are done. The storm is calling. And this time, you don't walk through it. You are it. They thought time would dull you. They thought pressure would crack you. But what they never accounted for was that you weren't just surviving those 1,825 days. You were studying. You were watching. You were learning the patterns of the weak who pretend to lead. You learned the cadence of hypocrisy, the false language of virtue wrapped around fear. You learned to hear what they didn't say, to see the flickers in their eyes when they realized you weren't breaking like the others. They don't know what it's like to build strength in silence, to forge identity under scrutiny, but you do. And now, that knowledge is your weapon. You don't need their systems anymore. You never did. They were scaffolding for those too afraid to stand alone. But you, Alpha, you stood alone in rooms full of enemies. You stood alone in moments when screaming would have been easier. You stood when your legs were trembling, when your chest was cracked open and bleeding, and still you stood. And that standing, it became legend. Maybe not to them, but to the voice inside you. That voice roared. That voice said, "Hold the line." And you did. So what now, when the doors swing open and the eyes turn again to you, not with suspicion this time, but with fear? You walk forward, slowly, unapologetically. Let them clear the path. Let their doubt melt into awe. You don't owe them explanation. You don't owe them your story. You are the story. The unsinkable, unbreakable, unkillable force they tried to tame. The clean soul they mistook for harmless. And that's the joke, isn't it? That the cleanest souls are forged in the filthiest fires because you did suffer. You did rot in their darkness. You bled inside your mind. You screamed into pillows soaked with everything you couldn't say aloud. You had nights where silence wasn't peaceful. It was a predator with its hands around your throat. But you made it through. You came out the other side, teeth intact, soul uncorrupted. You walked through their fire and came out colder than the ice they tried to bury you in. They don't teach this kind of strength. They can't. It offends them. Because this strength isn't about ego. It's not about dominance. It's about clarity. You know who you are now. You know what you'll tolerate, what you'll allow, what you'll destroy. That kind of self-awareness is rare. It's nuclear. It terrifies those who live in denial, because when someone like you walks into the room, it reminds them that they could have chosen differently, but they didn't. And now, they're haunted by your presence. They remember watching you suffer. They remember offering no hand. They remember whispering behind glass, laughing at what they thought was your weakness. Let them remember. Let that memory wrap around their conscience like a vice, because this isn't about revenge. This is about legacy. You are walking proof that dignity is not something granted, it's claimed. You took yours back every single day, quietly, without drama, without announcement. And that's what made it invincible. Now, the air shifts when you breathe. Room's quiet when you enter, not because you demand it, but because your energy commands it. That's what happens when you wear survival like a second skin. They can't ignore it. They feel it, and it breaks them in places they didn't even know were fragile. Let it. Let them break. You're not here to make them comfortable. You're not here to shrink to fit their narratives. You're here to rise, and rising is violent. It tears old skins. It shatters old cages. It erases the maps they drew with trembling hands, hoping to keep you lost. But you found your way. You carved your path with blood-stained fingertips, and now the ground trembles where you walk, because you carry history in your bones, rage in your breath, and justice in your shadow. This isn't a fairy tale. You're not the hero they root for. You're the reckoning they pretend doesn't exist. You don't wear a cape. You wear scars, and they shine brighter than any crown. You earned this, every inch of it. Every breath you take now is a rebellion. Every step, a thunderclap. Every stare you return is a blade against their illusions. And there's no going back. You don't fit into their world anymore, because you've outgrown it. You've outgrown their fear, their manipulation, their structures built on sand and spinelessness. They will offer you trinkets now, titles, apologies, empty praise. Take none of it. You don't need their acknowledgement. You are not a product of their system. You are proof of its failure. Let that truth hang in the air like smoke they can't clear. Let it suffocate their pride. And for those still living under microscopes, for the quiet ones still holding their breath in corners no one sees, they will hear about you. They will find your story, and it will not be wrapped in pretty bows or empty hope. It will bleed with realness. It will scream in silence. It will tell them, you are not alone. And more importantly, you can survive this. And not just survive, conquer. Because this story, your story, it isn't over. This is the ignition. The next chapter begins now, with every move you make, every truth you speak, every time you refuse to be smaller than your spirit. Your legacy writes itself in fire, and the world watches. Oh, it watches. Let them watch, because they still don't understand what you are, but soon they will. You don't forgive the cage. You don't forget the hands that locked it. You remember every look that said less, every word spoken through clenched teeth, every smile that dripped with manipulation. They made you a test subject, an exhibit, a case study. For 1,825 days, they tried to chart your downfall like a graph, thought your emotions were equations they could balance, thought your breaking point had a fixed address. They forgot that humans don't come with instruction manuals, and monsters, true monsters, write their own codes. And what they called clean, they meant contained. What they called whole, they meant harmless. But you are not harmless. You are focused. You are precise. There's no chaos left in you, and that's what makes you lethal. They wanted to see fractures, so they could say, we knew it, but you didn't crack. You calcified. You crystallized. You became something they couldn't label. That's what terrifies them. And now, it's not about vengeance. It's about inevitability. You've become inevitable. You walk like time, unbothered by resistance. You speak like prophecy, not caring who believes, because you don't need them to believe. The truth doesn't ask for permission. It simply is. And you? You are the truth they were never ready to meet. They placed bets on your failure. They whispered that it was only a matter of time. They told each other in hushed voices, "Wait, just wait. They'll snap." But you didn't. And every day you didn't. Every single day you stood with that clean soul and sharpened eyes. You killed something in them, quietly, bit by bit. You erased the lies they told about resilience. You dismantled their theories about human limits. You burned their definitions of strength and rebuilt your own. Do you realize how dangerous that is? You rewrote the language. You broke their measurements. Now, they have nothing to compare you to, and people without reference points panic. They need labels. They need control. And you took both from them with your calm. Your silence was not consent. It was strategy. Your obedience was not surrender. It was surveillance. You let them think they had you, and now they have nothing. You left no mess behind. You left no traceable rebellion. No outbursts, no collapse, just a soul they cannot stain. And there is nothing more terrifying to a broken world than someone who survives intact, because it means they can't blame the system. They have to blame themselves. You are the flaw in their machine, the glitch that didn't break, the ghost that didn't vanish. So stand tall, not for applause, not for followers, not for fame, but because it's your nature now. Upright is how you exist. Radiant is how you move. They wanted to see you on your knees, but now, even when you whisper, it feels like thunder to them. Even when you blink, it feels like judgment. Let them feel it. Let every breath you take be a reminder that they failed, not you. You see, power isn't loud. It's not in their suits, their titles, their empty rituals. Power is in the one who walks through every room with nothing but their integrity and still commands fear. That's you. You don't need an army. You are the army. You don't need a crown. You're not royalty. You're mythology. You're the fire they tried to extinguish with shame, and instead, you turned shame into fuel. And here's the bitter truth. They will never celebrate your return. They'll clap for you in public and grit their teeth in private. They'll call you inspiring with hollow voices, because deep down, they know they wouldn't have survived what you did. And that realization rots them from within. Good. Let it rot. Let their envy turn to dust between their trembling fingers. You gave them a chance to understand you, and they used it to try and dismantle you. That was their final mistake. Because now, there is no understanding. There is only reckoning. You don't go back to explain. You don't revisit ruins to comfort ghosts. You move forward with that clean soul, not as a badge, but as a blade. Because being clean does not mean being kind. It means being uncorrupted. It means being exact. And what you're about to become, what you already are, is surgical. You will cut through lies without lifting your voice. You will dismantle institutions by simply walking through them and refusing to kneel. That's your power now. Your presence is a verdict, and the sentence is long overdue. Let them wonder how you did it. Let them guess. Let them scramble for answers in their dusty rule books. You owe them no blueprint. You are not a coach. You are not a savior. You are the evidence. You are the warning. You are the line in the sand that does not move. And if others come to you, if other broken souls with shattered bones and fire in their eyes arrive at your door, You won't save them. You'll show them. You'll say, "They put me under the microscope for 5 years. They thought they'd find failure, but they found a clean soul." And they will see that it's possible. Not easy, not painless, but possible. And that alone will change the world. 1 clean soul is a miracle. But 2, that's a movement. And you are the beginning. For 1,825 days you were a specimen under cold lenses, dissected by eyes that couldn't see, analyzed by minds that never understood. They tried to turn your existence into a case study, a lesson in fragility, a demonstration of defeat. But what they found instead was a clean soul, pure, unbroken, unblemished by their poison. And that purity is a threat. It is a disruption. It is an earthquake beneath their brittle foundations. You are the ghost they feared, the anomaly they refused to accept. You are the truth they denied. And in their denial, they fueled the fire inside you, the fire that burns away fear, doubt, and weakness. They wanted you to fold under pressure, to crumble into something manageable, something less. But you refused. You held on tighter to yourself. You clenched your soul like a weapon and kept walking forward. Clean does not mean innocent. Clean means uncompromising. It means you faced darkness and you didn't flinch. You fought back in silence. You built an empire inside your mind, brick by brick, hope by hope, pain by pain. And when they finally looked closer after all those days, all those years, they didn't find cracks. They didn't find weakness. They found steel wrapped in flesh, a storm disguised as calm. This is your power, not the kind that shouts and demands, but the kind that moves in shadows and still shakes worlds. Your survival is your rebellion. Your integrity is your weapon, and your clean soul is a declaration. You will not be broken. You will not be tamed. You will not be owned. Remember this. The microscope was never a prison. It was a forge. They didn't trap you. They strengthened you. They thought they were controlling your story, but they only wrote the prelude to your rise. And rises like yours aren't polite. They aren't gentle. They are thunderclaps that shatter silence and crack foundations. So, step into your power with that clean soul blazing. Let the world see what happens when you refuse to be contaminated by the darkness around you. Let them watch as you dismantle their expectations with nothing but your will. Because that is the true victory. Not survival alone, but survival with your spirit intact, your soul pure, your purpose relentless. This is your era, Alpha, the age of the unbroken, the epoch of the clean soul that refuses to be tainted, that refuses to bow. You have outlasted their judgment, outpaced their cruelty, outshined their doubts, and now you carry a light so fierce it blinds the corrupt, so pure it burns away lies. Walk with that fire, breathe with that fury, live with that unshakable truth. You are not who they expected. You are more. You are everything they feared. You are the nightmare of their narrow minds and the hope of every soul trapped in darkness. This speech is for you. For every day you endured under that microscope. For every night you fought shadows that others never saw. For every moment you chose to be clean when it would have been easier to break. For every inch of ground you took back from those who tried to steal your soul. You lived under their microscope for 1,825 days, and they found a clean soul, not weak, not broken, but unbreakable.